Good evening, everyone. I hope you've had a fantastic week so far. This is HR in the Dark, the video podcast that exposes the dark side of HR. And I've got a quick topic, really a quick question that I want to ask to all of my business owners out there related to return to work strategy and your plan for bringing your employees back into the workforce. As we can say, post-COVID, well, it's not really post-COVID, it's still going on, but in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and what are some of the employees' concerns that you as an employer need to be thinking about as you're developing your strategy or implementing your strategy, and certainly when you're communicating your return to work strategy. I am your host, Stephanie Lomax, CEO and HR strategist for HR Pro for You, an HR consulting firm that helps businesses to embrace HR. And so this evening is really talking again about what are the things that employees are most concerned about. Our employees are our most valuable asset, and we want to do as much as we can to nurture them, protect them, help them to grow and develop. And so they have some real concerns, and they're legitimate concerns. And one thing we can never do is negate the way that somebody feels. We might not agree with it, but we can't tell them that how they feel is wrong. On the flip side of that, of course, as a business, we also have to think of, what is going to be most beneficial to the business in terms of how to keep the business running, keep the business moving forward. If you are, your doors are still open and businesses are starting to reopen and states are in various phases of return to work plans. And so there's a tight balance there that has to be managed. And I think that if everyone just takes a little bit of time to show each other some grace, this is one way that we can go about getting a return to work strategy that makes sense for the business, but also takes the employees' considerations into takes the employees' concerns into consideration. So let's talk about what some of those things are. And there's only three that I'm going to go over with you. Certainly there are more, but the first is that employees are going to be looking for a lot more flexibility and consideration to do more work from home activities. Why are they looking for that? Well, because if they were in a position and their job function allowed them to be able to function at home and be productive, then they're going to be looking for some balance there, I think, to be able to do some more work from home type assignments. Many businesses were pretty clear that they didn't have work from home policy, let's say that, or if they didn't have not a policy in their handbook or a practice of doing work from home, they were, we can't work from home. Our business is not really set up. We don't have the type of business model to work from home, but quickly found out that they can work from home if they want to continue to keep their doors open and be able to function with some level of productivity while we were going through the beginning of this pandemic and the shutdown. And so employees, I think it's going to be very difficult to completely wind that all the way back, at least not in the very beginning. I think that they are looking for some flexibility, staggered work schedules, on days, off days, alternating days, and there's other reasons for that as well, which actually is our second reason we're going to talk about tonight. But they're looking for some flexibility. For the last 6 months, for the most part, they've been, hopefully being productive, and we've been able as an employer to have some stop gaps in place. So we're not trying to clock every minute and every hour, but we're really looking for the end result. of their work product. So whatever that looks like for your business and for that particular job function, it is what it is there, right? But they're going to be looking, I think, especially when we're talking about initially returning to work, they're definitely going to be looking for some flexibility and some more considerations to do some things from home. Let's also not forget that this time, while very stressful and very confining in many ways, also was a time for people to reconnect with family and spend time with family. And that is one of the silver linings in this situation that we are in as related to this pandemic, is that we have been able to spend more time with family. And so I think coming out of this, employees and just people in general, but employees are definitely going to be looking for ways to continue to spend quality time with their family and keep them safe and protected. So flexibility and consideration for work from home is probably one of the top three reasons, or one of the top reasons, we'll say, things that employees are going to be looking for as you start to develop your return to work strategies. The second thing they're likely going to be looking for are what are the safety precautions and the guidelines about returning to work as it relates to cleaning procedures. Have you outlined those? Is your break room open? Are you going to have coffee available for people to go in and get it? What are we doing in terms of social distancing? Are there capacity limits based on the state that you're in? And if so, how will that work when employees are starting to come back to work? I mentioned a few minutes ago about staggered work schedules and alternating days as a way to be flexible with employees, but it really also is a way to keep social distancing parameters and guidelines in place. So let's say you have 40 employees, you don't want all 40 people back in the office at this point, so you want to maybe stagger those days. So you've got, you do alternating days in the office, you do a schedule shift, you do split shift, or whatever works best for your business and whatever works for, as you're talking with your employees, that makes sense for them to be able to be productive and still be safe and still be able to practice social distancing, I think is going to be really important, and is definitely one of those things that employees are looking for. And they're looking to their employers to make sure that they have the safety precautions in place. Another really important piece about the safety precautions, what you definitely don't want is DOL, OSHA, or your state safety and health agency knocking at your door because someone has called and reported an unsafe work environment. That is a real thing. It doesn't have to be construction. A lot of people obviously correlate OSHA with construction, and while yes, that's a big part of it, this is certainly falls under their umbrella and falls in their wheelhouse. And all it takes is one phone call by an employee to OSHA to say, hey, I don't feel safe. They haven't communicated cleaning practices. They're not doing cleaning practices. And I don't feel safe here at work. And trust me, that's not a problem that you want at your work doorstep. So make sure that once you have developed the safety plan and the social distancing plan and guidelines, make sure you communicate that and make sure they're posted. Some of the common things that we know, we've been hearing about this now for months. Social distance, wash your hands frequently, have hand sanitizers available for people, or sanitizing stations. Try to minimize gathering in high touch areas, which is the reason I brought up the whole coffee machine or the break room, or where people would congregate and gather. It's more likely. Are you going to have people going to be required to wear masks? So here in the state of Maryland, they are required to wear masks, and even in office settings, a lot of businesses are requiring masks. I know when we go into the stores around here, everybody's got a mask on. So is that going to be part of your protocol? Does OSHA require it to be part of your protocol? They require that it be something that a reasonable person would find as a reasonable step to making sure that the workplace is safe. So I would venture to say that having a mask is probably going to be more beneficial than detrimental versus the other way around. So think about those protocols and guidelines. Are you required to provide the mask to people, or do you just say they have to have one that's a cloth face covering? So these are the kind of a little bit of minutia behind trying to decide on exactly what the protocol and plans are going to be. But I think that taking the first step in creating it is important, and employees are going to be looking for that. And then the third thing that people are really concerned about is either job loss. If they haven't already lost their job, they're concerned that when they come back to work, there may be a shift or change, and there may be a round of layoffs that has to happen at some point once they return. So they're concerned about job stability, but they're also concerned about the workload that they're going to get. So when I come back to work, since we haven't been in this work setting where we really do a lot, I'll say a lot more concentrated work because it's physically there on site. So now that I'm going to be back on site, and is my employer going to like push all this work onto me? Am I going to have this much heavier workload than I did pre-COVID? So think about what that return to work plan needs to look like, and as it relates to what are your employees' job responsibilities going to be? Have they changed at all since all of this has happened, or since they've been working from home? Are there things that can be shifted to somebody else? Are there pieces of their job that can be wrapped into creating maybe a new opportunity for somebody? So these are things, you don't have to answer all these things all at once, but definitely have that kind of on your radar as you're talking about bringing people back into the workforce. And so just to kind of recap, the three things that we went over this evening is flexibility. They're looking for flexibility and considerations to work from home. They're looking for safety precautions and a safe workplace that includes social distancing guidelines, cleaning protocols, what the process will be in terms of masks and visitors, for example, when they're coming in. What is that going to look like if you have meetings and things like that? So they're definitely looking for some detail and information around safety. And the third thing they're concerned about is job stability and workload concerns, and how that may change for them. So are they going to have more work to do now that they're physically in the office versus when they were home? And how do we help to ease their concerns around all three of these things, quite honestly? So the question is really, what is your plan? Have you thought about a return to work strategy that's going to work for your business, that's going to take into consideration what your employees need and what their concerns are? Because these three are certainly not all of the concerns that they have. So what does that need to look like for your business? As I mentioned last week, I have a free checklist that's available to anybody that wants to download it. You can download the checklist by sending a text message to 31996, and you want to send the word Embrace HR to 31996. So that will get you the free checklist to download, and it's a return to work checklist that's available for employers. Gives you some guidelines and things to kind of think about in several different areas as you start thinking about return to work strategies and developing your plan. This is really key and important as we talk about reopening, because states are in various stages of reopening. Not everybody's on the same phase, and even down to county levels, for example. So the state may be on one level, but the county may be holding back before they move to the same level, and maybe just a level below that at the time, based on what's happening within their county. So there's a lot of moving parts related to this in terms of legislation and what the guidelines are, and they really are varying by state. So you want to make sure you check your state website to find out what the guidelines are for return to work, who's open, who can be open, and if you're a business and you're reopening, do you have capacity limits? So the checklist is free. Again, option for you to kind of take a look at that. You can download it again by sending Embrace HR text to 31996. If you know that you are going kind of beyond the checklist component, then you can also purchase COVID-19 HR DIY kit. This was developed by myself and employment business attorney Siobhan J. Smith, and it's been legally reviewed. It will have policies, templates, forms, letters for you to take advantage of customizing, and they've been legally reviewed, so you don't have to worry about whether or not whether it's compliant from a legal standpoint or not. It is. So that's available for purchase, and you can contact me directly at embracehr at hrproforyou.com. It's hrpro, the number 4, YOU.com, to get access to the DIY kit for purchase. And then certainly if you are looking for consultation, either via for this COVID-19 return to work, or if you know that you want to get your HR house straightened and get it in order, certainly reach out to me to schedule a consultation so that we can talk a little bit more. You can use that same email address at embracehr at hrpro, the number 4, YOU.com. That's what we have for this evening. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was eye-opening, give you some things to kind of think about as you are considering reopening your business. And if you've already reopened your business, it's not too late to still have a conversation, because I am certain that employees have questions. And so definitely lean on a resource, an HR resource that you can contact to ask those questions. I'm certainly available, would love to assist how I can with fielding those questions and really helping you to develop an HR strategy for return to work, and also some of the other services that we offer. I look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday, July the 15th, I think it is. Halfway through July already. I keep telling people we're going to be Christmas shopping pretty soon. Online, likely, but we'll still be Christmas shopping or holiday shopping or, whatever going on. And it's not going to be July for much longer. We're already halfway there. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. I have a guest that's going to be joining next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And I am going to close this evening, but I appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe also if you have not already done so. You can subscribe to the podcast at hrpro, the number 4, YOU/podcast. And you can have the podcast delivered right to your email address every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. HR in the Dark, the video podcast that exposes the dark side of HR. I hope you guys have a great, great, great evening. Have a good one. See you next week. Bye.